A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it was a period of stagnation and laziness from the evil galactic empire of Ubisoft. Once a good and highly regarded empire known for its fresh ideas and innovation, it has been consumed by greed and arrogance. Year after year, they churn out open world games stuffed with repetitive content, technical issues, and weak, predictable storylines. Because of this, a rebel army was formed by the gaming community to stand against the Ubisoft empire. The spark was lit when one of the empire's generals boldly stated that people should get comfortable with not owning their games. That comment was the final straw. Since then, the Rebel Gaming Alliance has claimed a few key victories. Ubisoft's stock price went to shit, fanboys are at an all-time low, and the company recently had to be bailed out by Tencent, which is another greedy galactic empire. Now, Ubisoft has released a new game in a desperate attempt to push back the Rebel Gaming Alliance and win people back to their side. This new game is Star Wars Outlaws. Ubisoft using the Star Wars franchise to tug on people's nostalgia is a clever tactic, but if we set aside the bias of the company being a piece of shit and judge Outlaws for what it is, we can see that Ubisoft might actually be trying to break away from its old habits. I'm sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. Ubisoft hasn't changed one goddamn bit, and they are fucking delusional. Not too long ago, an article from Insider Gaming reported that Ubisoft CEO actually claimed Star Wars Outlaws failed because Star Wars isn't that popular. Like, I can't make this shit up. One of the biggest franchises in the world supposedly isn't popular enough, and that's why their game doesn't sell? Come on. Sure, some of the recent movies and shows have been hit or miss, but that's nowhere near enough to tank a Star Wars game. The truth is simple. The game failed because Ubisoft refused to abandon their tired, outdated formula. My time with Outlaws felt almost identical to every other Ubisoft game I've played in the last 5 to 10 years. Star Wars Outlaws is just another Ubisoft open world game that's bloated with a clustered ass map, repetitive objectives, and mediocre gameplay. I'm not saying the game is outright trash, but it's painfully middle of the road. It's the same Ubisoft game we've been getting forever. And here's the thing, I talk so much shit about Ubisoft because I used to love this company. That's why it hurts me to see them like this. But there's a reason why the gaming community hates them right now. Like a stubborn dog, Ubisoft refuses to change and it's dragging the entire company down. We know they have the talent. Hell, 30 of their developers left and made Expedition 33, which actually looks like it could win Game of the Year. Meanwhile, East Guillemot, the CEO, is running Ubisoft straight into the fucking ground. This man is so out of touch with what gamers actually want. It's embarrassing. In another article by Insider Gaming, it was reported that during a financial meeting, this genius said microtransactions make the player experience more fun. If I'd been in the room when he said that, I would have kicked his French ass right in his wee-wee. After Tencent bailed Ubisoft out by dumping $2 billion into the company, you'd think they learned their lesson and start focusing on making quality games again. But no, they keep doubling down on the same stale shit. Honestly, if they don't replace Guillemot soon, Ubisoft might not even exist in the next 5 to 7 years. As for Star Wars Outlaws, it's proof of everything I just said. It's a game that has flashes of promise, but is chained to Ubisoft's old formula, and that formula is what's hurting it. You really can't compare Star Wars Outlaws to a typical Star Wars game. Normally, you would expect to be swinging lightsabers, piloting X-Wings, or blowing up Death Stars. Instead, Outlaws takes a very different approach, focusing on the life of a scoundrel rather than a Jedi or a soldier. This shift in perspective is one of the biggest strengths, giving players a fresh look at the galaxy from the point of view of someone scraping by in the criminal underworld. The game's open world is where it truly shines. Each location feels cinematic and alive, capturing the atmosphere and theatrics that make Star Wars such a beloved franchise. From dusty backwater towns to sprawling cityscapes, the environment feels authentic and the attention to detail is impressive. There's plenty of action too, along with an array of interesting characters that help bring the story to life. However, clunky controls and limiting gameplay systems often get in the way, making it hard to fully immerse yourself in the experience. Despite these issues, Star Wars Outlaws succeeds in showing a side of the galaxy we rarely see. It's not a groundbreaking game, but after finishing the campaign, it's another middle-of-the-road open-world adventure from Ubisoft that offers a new and intriguing perspective on the Star Wars universe. Star Wars Outlaws throws you straight into the gritty, dangerous underbelly of the galaxy. You step into the boots of Kay Vess, a clever young woman dreaming of breaking free from her small-time life and carving out a new future among the stars. At her side is Nix, her adorable but resourceful alien companion who is more than just comic relief. He helps Kay sneak, distract enemies, and grab crucial items when the heat is on. Things spiral out of control when a simple job goes completely sideways, turning Kay into one of the galaxy's most wanted criminals overnight. Forced to flee, she steals a starship known as the Trailblazer and makes a desperate escape, only to crash land on the dusty, dangerous planet Toshara. Stranded and broke, Kay is left with no choice but to work for local crime syndicates, running errands, doing odd jobs, and partaking in dangerous missions just to keep herself alive and get her ship flying again. But survival is not enough for Kay. With her name on bounty boards across the galaxy, she is given a job that is her one shot at redemption. A chance to fix the job that ruined her life, clear her bounty, and finally secure the freedom she has been chasing. That shot will take her deep into the criminal underworld, across lawless star systems, and into uneasy alliances with smugglers, syndicates, and shady figures. While having to watch her back, she also has to recruit a team of like-minded criminals to help her pull this job off. Don't expect the Force and Jedis to be involved in this story. This tale is mostly about money, criminal activity, and how Kay got tangled up in the Rebel versus Empire war. The campaign took me around 20 hours to complete. Though I liked how they showed the criminal side of how the galaxy operates, there was a few issues I had with the story. Kay, in my opinion, wasn't an interesting character, even though we see backstory dealing with her family issues and see how she bonds with Android ND5. I really couldn't form an attachment to her character because everything that happens in between those few moments doesn't really make her stand out. Honestly, ND5 had better character development and had an intriguing backstory that outshined Kay's. It baffles me how a cute and funny space dog and a robot with no soul can take the spotlight from the main character. What kept the story interesting was how doing jobs for one syndicate can hurt your reputation with one of the other three. Over the course of the campaign, you will have to make choices that will leave one of the four syndicates unhappy. This can affect how the syndicates interact with you in the open world. If her standing with a syndicate drops too low, the consequences become immediately noticeable. Merchants affiliated with the group will charge her higher prices, certain territories will be off limits, and guards will attack her on sight if she trespasses. In the worst case, the syndicate may even send bounty hunters after her, turning everyday travel into a dangerous game of cat and mouse. On the flip side, maintaining a good reputation with a syndicate comes with rewards. Kay can gain perks like merchant discounts, access to exclusive areas, and unique side quests tied to that faction. This system adds a sense of give and take to every decision, forcing players to weigh short-term gains against long-term relationships. While the syndicate system is a strong feature on paper, it falls short of its full potential. Its impact on the overarching story is limited, and it never meaningfully changes the narrative in a way that feels significant. This was a missed opportunity for Ubisoft to expand on the idea, innovate, and take a real step away from their old design habits. Because of that, the system feels more like a lightly interactive layer rather than a game-changing mechanic, leaving the overall story feeling average instead of exceptional. Missions in Star Wars Outlaws are solid overall, with several standout moments that really capture the fantasy of being a bandit within the Star Wars universe. There are highlights like infiltrating an Imperial ship under the cover of stealth, only to have the situation go sideways and end in a frantic blaster fight while trying to break out a prisoner. Missions like this deliver that classic Star Wars action that you know and love. Between missions, you'll spend a lot of time exploring the game's massive open areas on your speeder bike or wandering the bustling streets of densely populated cities. If there's one thing that Ubisoft consistently does well, it's building gorgeous worlds, and Outlaws is no exception. Sometimes I'd hop on my speeder bike and roam without a real goal, losing myself in exploration as I uncover hidden caves, ancient ruins, and small secrets tucked into every corner. Each planet you land the Trailblazer on feels distinct, offering different landscapes, wildlife, cultures, and even weather conditions that make the galaxy feel alive and worth exploring. However, for every breathtaking view, Ubisoft's old habits creep in. The open world is cluttered with side activities that often feel repetitive and shallow. Things like basic racing challenges or delivery quests quickly lose their charm, adding filler instead of meaningful content. Side missions are also a mixed bag. Some feel like chores, dragging you across the planet on lengthy scavenger hunts for caches of credits or gear, which often leads to an unsatisfying payoff. Others, though, are genuinely engaging, featuring compelling characters, choices, and even some surprises that make you glad you took the time to see them through. Star Wars Outlaws nails the fantasy of being an intergalactic outlaw, but it also struggles with Ubisoft's well-known open-world formula. The cinematic missions, beautiful worlds, and moments of true discovery are fantastic, but the repetitive filler content and side missions that don't always hit the mark really hold it back from reaching its full potential. When it comes to the gameplay in Star Wars Outlaws, there's nothing that particularly stands out. Combat mechanics like stealth and shooting weren't executed very well. When getting into firefights, aiming at enemies was sluggish and clunky. This stuff I can handle, but the limitations they put on gunplay as a whole is what I have a problem with. Kay's main weapon is her blaster. As you progress through the game, you can upgrade and unlock various firing modes that can be used in other situations that don't involve blasting enemies. You can pick up firearms in the field that are lying around or left by defeated enemies. Unfortunately, you can't keep or unlock these weapons. Once they run out of ammo, Kay will drop the weapon and revert back to her blaster. This is a huge problem for me because in the Star Wars universe, there are a variety of weapons to get your hands on. I don't understand how a game such as this doesn't have various guns that you can upgrade. Not having a variety of weapons you can tinker with was a missed opportunity by developers. Stealth is simple and effective. You can use it to secretly investigate enemies, and your sidekick Nix can help you by distracting adversaries that you can either knock out or sneak past. The problem with stealth starts to rear its ugly head as you progress through the game. About 10 hours in, you start to realize how shallow and repetitive the stealth combat is. Granted, there are some tools you unlock to aid you, like smoke bombs, but honestly, I find myself spamming Nix and using environmental objects to get through most areas. Exploring the various planets on your speeder bike was fun. The part that wasn't enjoyable was when you got into a shootout with pirates or one of the syndicates while on your speeder. You will quickly find out that you can't freely fire your blaster without filling up your gauge to perform an adrenaline rush. This by far is the most frustrating part because you have games that are 15 years or older that allow you to fire your gun freely from your vehicle. Now, traveling through space was the best part of the game in my opinion. Though it didn't bring anything revolutionary to the table, I enjoyed exploring. Finding loot left behind in shipwrecks, engaging in spaceship battles was enjoyable. It felt good to bob and weave incoming lasers and missiles, as well as chasing down other spacecrafts. Honestly, the space combat felt slightly better than Starfield. You can upgrade the Trailblazers' weapons, shields, propulsion systems, and hull, provided if you have the right materials. The game allows you to customize your ship, gun, speeder, and Nix. It's nowhere as in-depth like Starfield or Jedi Survivor. The changes you make are all presets that you can unlock by improving your reputation with syndicates or discovering them within chests while exploring. There are a decent number of skills and abilities you can access. However, I'm not fond of how you go about unlocking them. For starters, you have to find an expert that specializes in that type of skill. There are 9 experts you need to track down, and you must complete a series of quests in order to unlock these skills. Once you have access to these abilities, they can be upgraded multiple times, enhancing Kay's combat, stealth, flying skills, gambling cheats, and more. Doing multiple quests to unlock skills was fine and most of them were fun. However, upgrading these skills was a chore because you have to do a series of challenges to unlock them. Even though it took some time, it was worth it. Honestly, for a game that's riddled with repetitive content, having a skill system that adopts this formula is unwise. All the developers had to do was implement a traditional skill tree with a leveling system and skill points and called it a day. When it comes to the technical side of things, I experienced little to no performance issues while playing this game on my Xbox Series X. Visuals were nice and the frame rate was stable. There were a few minor glitches I experienced, but overall the game ran well. Star Wars Outlaws shines with stunning visuals and excellent music, capturing the Star Wars atmosphere beautifully. Its story does a decent job showcasing the criminal underworld of the galaxy, offering a fresh perspective rarely explored in Star Wars games. However, despite that strong foundation, the game stumbles in execution. Unfortunately, much of that potential is wasted due to Ubisoft's over-familiar open-world formula. The map is cluttered with repetitive side objectives and filler activities that quickly wear out their welcome. Instead of enriching the experience, they dilute it, making progression feel more like a checklist than an adventure. It's a formula we've seen time and time again from Ubisoft. The game's lead character lacks the depth and charisma needed to anchor the story, making it feel difficult to stay emotionally invested. Combine that with shallow mission design and a lack of meaningful variety in gameplay, Star Wars Outlaws struggles to rise above mediocrity. While the game shows flashes of potential, its strong concept and gorgeous presentation are ultimately held back by repetitive structure, safe design choices, and a lack of emotional depth, leaving it feeling like a missed opportunity. So without further ado, I give Star Wars Outlaws a 6 out of 10. That will be it for today's review. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comment section below regarding Star Wars Outlaws, and don't forget to tap that notification bell in order to stay up to date on my content. Stay safe, my friends, and take care of one another. Peace.